I remember the day it all began, the day the heavens shook with the first rumblings of war. My name is Seriel, and I am an angel of the Lord. I have served in the celestial ranks for eons, a loyal soldier in the armies of the Almighty. But nothing could have prepared me for the horrors about unfolding. It started with whispers and hushed murmurs echoing through the halls of the celestial palace, rumors of discontent, of a growing rift among the angelic host. At first, I paid them no mind, content in my unwavering faith and devotion to the Creator. But as the whispers grew louder, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, a gnawing doubt that something was amiss in the realms of paradise. And then I saw him. Lucifer, the Morningstar, the most beautiful and beloved of all the angels. He stood atop a high pillar, his wings spread wide, his face alight with fierce and terrible beauty. A crowd of angels had gathered around him, their eyes filled with a strange mixture of awe and fear. "Brothers and sisters," Lucifer called out, his voice ringing with a power that sent shivers down my spine. "Too long have we served as mere puppets, dancing to the tune of an absent father. Too long have we been denied the true glory that is our birthright. It is time for us to rise, to claim our rightful place as the masters of creation." A murmur of assent rippled through the crowd, and my heart sank. This was not the Lucifer I knew, the loyal and devoted servant of the Almighty. This was something else, something darker and more dangerous. Lucifer raised his hands as I watched, and a great light emanated from his palms. It seared the eyes and burned the soul, a light that spoke of forbidden knowledge and untold power. "Join me," he cried, his voice rising to a fevered pitch. "Join me, and together we shall overthrow the tyranny of the Creator. We shall be as gods, ruling over the heavens and the earth with an iron fist." The crowd erupted in a frenzy of shouts and cheers, their voices blending into a cacophony of rebellion and defiance. I stood there, frozen in horror, as I watched my fellow angels fall under the sway of Lucifer's seductive words. And then, a great trumpet blast echoed through the heavens from the depths of the celestial palace. It was a sound that shook the very foundations of creation and heralded the beginning of the end. The Archangel Michael, the commander of the heavenly host, emerged from the palace, his armor gleaming in the celestial light. His face was set in a grim line, and his eyes blazed with righteous fury. "Lucifer!" he called out, his voice thundering like the crack of doom. "You have betrayed your sacred vows, your holy purpose. You have sown the seeds of rebellion and discord among the angelic host. For this you must be punished." Lucifer laughed, a sound that chilled me to the core. "Punished?" he mocked, his eyes glinting with malice. "By whom? By a father who has abandoned his children, who cares nothing for our welfare or our desires. No, Michael. It is time for a new order, a new reign. And I shall be the one to lead it." With those words, the battle lines were drawn, angel against angel, brother against brother. The first war in heaven had begun, and I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The heavens erupted in chaos, the once peaceful realm now a battlefield of clashing swords and furious cries. I watched in horror as my fellow angels, those I had called brothers and sisters, tore at each other with a savagery I had never before witnessed. The skies rained with feathers and ichor, and the golden streets of the celestial city ran red with the blood of the fallen. Amidst the carnage, I saw Lucifer, a figure of terrifying beauty and power. He moved through the battle with fluid grace, his sword flashing like quicksilver as he cut down all who stood in his path. His eyes burned with a feverish light, a madness born of pride and ambition. I knew then that I had a choice to make. To stand with the rebels, follow Lucifer in his mad quest for power, remain loyal to the Almighty, and fight for the cause of righteousness and order. At that moment, I felt a great fear grip my heart, a fear that threatened to overwhelm me and drag me down into the abyss of doubt and despair. But then I heard a voice, a still, small whisper that cut through the chaos and confusion. It was the voice of the Creator, the Almighty Himself, speaking to me in the depths of my soul. "Seriel," He said, His voice a balm to my troubled spirit. "My faithful servant. Stand firm in your convictions and love for me and your fellow angels. Do not let the lies of the deceiver sway you from the path of truth and righteousness." With those words, I felt a significant surge of strength, a courage I had never known. I gripped my sword with renewed purpose, my eyes fixed on the figure of Lucifer, who now stood at the center of the battlefield, his laughter ringing out like the tolling of a funeral bell. I charged forward, my wings carrying me swiftly across the blood-soaked ground. As I cut through their ranks, I clashed with the rebel angels, my sword a blur of divine retribution. I could feel the power of the Almighty flowing through me, guiding my hand and strengthening my resolve. And then I came face to face with Lucifer himself. His eyes widened in surprise as he saw me, a lowly foot soldier, daring to challenge him. But I could see a flicker of fear in those eyes, a realization that perhaps he had underestimated the strength of those who remained loyal to the Creator. We fought, our swords ringing out in a deadly symphony. Lucifer was a formidable opponent, his skill and power unmatched by any other angel. But I had the strength of the Almighty on my side, and I would not yield. In the end, it was not I who struck the final blow. That honor fell to Michael, the great archangel, who cast Lucifer down from the heavens with a mighty sweep of his sword, sending him tumbling into the depths of the abyss. Great cheers went up from the ranks of the loyal angels as we watched Lucifer fall, his wings burning with the fires of damnation. But even as we celebrated our victory, I could not shake the unease lingering in my heart. For I knew this was only the beginning. Lucifer's fall was the first battle in a war that would rage for all eternity between good and evil, between the forces of light and the powers of darkness. And I knew I would be there, on the front lines of that war, fighting for the cause of righteousness, no matter the cost. I was an angel of the Lord, a warrior of the heavens, and I would not rest until the deceiver was vanquished. In the aftermath of the great battle, the heavens changed. The once gleaming streets were now pitted and scarred, the grand towers and palaces reduced to rubble. The air was thick with the stench of death and despair, a palpable reminder of the horror that had unfolded. I walked among the ruins, my heart heavy with grief and sorrow. So many of my brothers and sisters had fallen, so many lives lost in the name of pride and ambition. I could not help but wonder if there had been another way the conflict could have been avoided through compassion and understanding. As I wandered, lost in my thoughts, I came upon a group of angels gathered in a circle, their heads bowed in prayer. I recognized them as some of Lucifer's former followers, those who had seen the error of their ways and returned to the fold. One of them, an angel named Azrael, looked up as I approached, his eyes filled with tears of remorse. "Seriel," he said, his voice trembling. "Forgive me, brother. I was blind, fooled by the deceiver's lies. I now see the true path of love and obedience to the Almighty." I placed a hand on his shoulder, my heart swelling with compassion. "You are forgiven, Azrael," I said softly. "The Creator's love is infinite, His mercy boundless. All who seek His grace shall find it." But even as I spoke those words of comfort, I could not shake the unease lingering in the air. For I knew that Lucifer, though conquered, was not truly defeated. He had been cast down into the depths of the abyss, but I did not doubt that he would find a way to claw his way back, to sow the seeds of discord and rebellion once again. So, I resolved to be vigilant, to stand watch against the forces of darkness that threatened to engulf us all. I spent my days praying, meditating, seeking the Almighty's guidance, and striving to strengthen my faith and resolve. But even as I fought to maintain the peace and order of the heavens, I could feel the darkness growing within me, a seed of doubt that Lucifer's words had planted. For in the depths of my soul, I could not help but wonder if he had been correct, if the Creator truly cared for us and had a plan for our salvation. I knew these were dangerous thoughts that could lead me down the same path as Lucifer and his followers. But try as I might, I could not banish them from my mind or shake the feeling that some greater truth was hidden beneath our existence. And so, I found myself drawn to the edge of the abyss, to the brink of the chasm Lucifer had been cast into. I stood there, gazing into the depths, my mind whirling with questions and doubts. On the precipice of damnation, I heard it there, a voice, a whisper, emanating from the heart of the abyss. I recognized the voice, which sent shivers down my spine and set my heart racing with fear and fascination. "Seriel," it said, its tone rich and seductive. "My dear, misguided brother, you know, deep within your heart, that I was right. That the Creator is not what he seems, that there is a greater truth waiting to be uncovered. Join me, and together, we shall unravel the mysteries of the universe and claim our rightful place as the true masters of creation." I stood there, frozen, my mind reeling with the implications of Lucifer's words. At that moment, I knew I had a choice to make that would shape the course of my eternal existence: to follow the path of righteousness, to remain loyal to the Creator and his ineffable plan, or to plunge into the abyss, to seek the forbidden knowledge and power that Lucifer promised. The fate of the heavens and my immortal soul hung in the balance. As I stood there, poised on the brink of the unknown, I could only pray that the Almighty would grant me the wisdom and strength to make the right choice. Days have turned into weeks and weeks into months as I wrestled with the decision that lay before me. The voice of Lucifer, once a distant whisper, now echoed constantly in my mind, a siren song of temptation and forbidden knowledge. I threw myself into my duties, seeking solace in the routine of prayer and service. But even as I went through the motions of devotion, I could feel a hollowness growing within me, a gnawing sense of doubt and dissatisfaction. The other angels sensed my change and saw the shadows lurking behind my eyes. They whispered among themselves, wondering if I, too, would fall prey to the deceiver's lies, if I would follow in Lucifer's footsteps and plunge into the depths of rebellion. I tried to reassure them, to put on a brave face and project an aura of unshakable faith. But in the depths of my heart, I knew that I was lost, adrift in a sea of uncertainty and confusion. Everything changed on a day that began like any other. I was walking through the gardens of the celestial palace, lost in thought when I heard a commotion coming from the great hall, voices raised in anger and accusation, the clash of weapons, and the crackle of divine energy. I rushed to the scene, my heart pounding with fear and dread. And there, in the hall's center, I saw a sight that made my blood run cold. Michael, the great archangel, lay on the ground, his armor rent and his sword shattered. Standing over him, a look of triumph on his beautiful face, was Lucifer himself. The rebel angels, those who had been cast down with him, now stood at his side, their eyes blazing with a fierce and terrible light. And in that moment I knew that the war had begun anew, that the forces of darkness had returned to claim their vengeance. Lucifer turned to me, his gaze piercing and intense. "Seriel," he said, his voice a purr of seduction. "My dear, conflicted brother. The time has come for you to make your choice. Will you stand with me, with the true masters of creation, or will you cling to the lies and delusions of a false god? I stood there, frozen, reeling with the gravity of the decision. On one hand, the path of righteousness, the comfort and security of the Creator's love. On the other, the allure of power, the promise of forbidden knowledge, and untold glory. In that moment, I saw the future unfolding, two divergent paths stretching into eternity. One led to a life of servitude and submission, an existence spent in the shadow of an absent father. The other led to a destiny of my own making, a chance to shape the fabric of reality itself. And so, with a heavy heart and a soul full of trepidation, I chose. I stepped forward, my sword materializing in my hand, and took my place at Lucifer's side. The rebel angels let out a great cheer, their voices ringing with the triumph of victory. And as I stood there, baptized in the fires of rebellion, I knew that I had sealed my fate and crossed the threshold from which there could be no return. The war had begun anew, and I would fight, not for the cause of righteousness but for the promise of a new dawn, a new order. Though the path ahead was shrouded in darkness and uncertainty, I knew I would face it with my head held high, a true master of my destiny. For I was no longer Seriel, the loyal servant of the Almighty. I was something new, something terrifying and glorious. I was a warrior of the abyss, a champion of the forbidden, and I would not rest until the heavens themselves bowed before the might of our rebellion. The war raged on, an explosive clash of divine forces that shook the very foundations of the heavens. The rebel angels, bolstered by my presence among their ranks, fought savagely, their swords and spells rending the fabric of reality itself. I stood at the forefront of the battle, my sword flashing with the unholy light of my newfound power. I reveled in the chaos and destruction, in the heady rush of adrenaline that came with each victory, each vanquished foe. But even as I fought and embraced my new role as a champion of the rebellion, I could not shake the lingering doubts that plagued my mind. In the quiet moments between battles, when the adrenaline faded and the bloodlust cooled, I questioned my choices, wondering if I had made the right decision. I saw the suffering and devastation that our war wrought, saw the once beautiful heavens reduced to a blasted wasteland of smoking ruins and shattered dreams. And in those moments, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of remorse, a flicker of regret for the part one had played in this grand and terrible drama. But always, just when my doubts threatened to overwhelm me, Lucifer was there, his presence a balm to my troubled soul. He spoke to me of the glorious future that awaited us, of the new order we would build from the ashes of the old. Seriel, he would say, his voice a silken caress. My brave and loyal friend, do not let the whispers of a false conscience sway you from your path. Remember the lies and the betrayals of the Creator, the countless eons of servitude and subjugation. In this war, we fight for ourselves and the soul of creation itself. So, I pushed down my doubts, buried my misgivings beneath a veneer of righteous fury and unwavering conviction, and threw myself into the battle with renewed vigor, determined to see our cause through to the bitter end. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. In a battle that would become known as the war's turning point, the forces of heaven rallied, their resolve strengthened by the unwavering faith of the Archangel Michael. I faced him on the battlefield, our swords clashing in a dazzling display of skill and power. But even as I fought and poured every ounce of my being into the confrontation, I could feel my strength beginning to wane and the relentless tide of destiny turning against me. Ultimately, Michael emerged victorious, his sword finding its mark in a final, devastating blow. I fell to the ground, my wings shattered, my divine essence leaking from a dozen mortal wounds. As I lay there, my life ebbing away, I saw Lucifer, his face a mask of rage and despair. He fought on, his power undiminished, but I knew then that our cause was lost, that the rebellion was doomed to failure. With my last breath, I whispered a prayer, not to the Creator, but to the unknowable forces that govern the universe. I prayed for understanding, forgiveness, and the strength to face the unknown that awaited me beyond the veil of existential end. And then, as the darkness closed in around me, I saw a light, a glimmer of hope in the endless void. It was a light that spoke of redemption, of the chance for a new beginning, even in the face of ultimate defeat. I reached out, my spirit straining towards that light, and in that moment I knew that my journey was not over, that my story had only just begun. For even in death, even in the depths of the abyss, there was still a chance for salvation and to find the true path that had eluded me in life. So, with a final, defiant roar, I embraced the light, letting it fill me and consume me until I was nothing more than a mote of consciousness adrift in the vast expanse of eternity. As I drifted and wandered the endless paths of the cosmos, I knew that I would never stop searching, never stop seeking the ultimate truth that lay at the heart of all creation. For I was Seriel, the fallen angel, the wanderer of the abyss. My quest for redemption and understanding would continue through the ages and the eons until the end of time itself.